Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, November 21st, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Oh, there are some whiny-ass Texas Republicans calling it a double standard after judges called their redistricting plan racially gerrymandered. Y'all, check this one out. The judicial ruling of this one Republican, he just lost his mind. He was trashing Soros. Oh, he was trashing Latino pollster Matt Barreto. Well, Matt joins us, and we're going to have a fantastic conversation. Can't wait for that one, y'all. I'm finally going to tackle how white nationalist racist Nick Fuentes is planning to infiltrate the Republican Party and how they're saying, by all means, we welcome you with open arms. Folks, Alabama's Congressional delegation honors the death of the last Tuskegee Airman. We'll show you what they said on the U.S. House floor. Plus, an update on that story out of Indiana. A black woman and her husband turned away, had to deliver the baby on the side of the road. It's a doctor and nurse looking for a job. Plus, an Ohio jury found a white cop not guilty of murdering Takia Young, a pregnant black mother accused of shoplifting. Plus, Chadwick Boseman's legacy was honored by fans, friends, and family as the late Black Panther actor receives a posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Folks, and also, New York-elect Mayor Zohran Mamdani goes to the Oval Office, and boy, Trump was all smiles. We'll show you a little what happened there as well. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when
swear that conservatives, they don't have major donors who give millions upon millions to their candidates. I mean, you've got Steve Schwartzman, of course, CEO BlackRock. You've got Miriam Adelson. Of course, her husband was alive, Sheldon Adelson. I mean, they give hundreds of millions of dollars. You've got the Koch brothers. One has died, but you still have one of those brothers. I mean, you got these billionaires out of Wiley, Texas. I mean, they pump hundreds of millions of dollars into our political system. But for the right, oh my God, George Soros must be the devil. I mean, they slap his name on every single thing you could think of. Well, when the 2-to-1 ruling came down, declaring that the Texas map that was approved was a racist gerrymander, the one judge, in the 2-to-1, oh my God, Judge Jerry Smith lost his mind. He was so angry. He was upset. He felt they didn't give him enough time. But when you read his report, I mean, he trashes the other judges. And mind you, one of the judges he's trashing is a Trump appointee. This dude is a Reagan appointee. But one of the folks who he really was upset with, is my next guest, Matt Libretto. I mean, Jerry Smith, y'all, was just losing his mind. He said this was the most blatant exercise of judicial activism I have ever witnessed. And he sat there in his ruling. I mean, he was just going on and on and on, Soros and Soros and Soros. And he was really upset with Matt. Matt's professor of political science and director of UCLA's Voting Rights Project, who joins us right now. And Matt, I've been wanting to talk about this for 2 days. You could only join us today. I said, man, let me hold my powder. But it was hilarious reading this white man's meltdown, because he just could not help himself. He really portrayed George Soros like he's the devil.
Hey, Roland, it's good to see you. Thanks for inviting me back. It was an intense trial, I'll say. There was thousands of pages of evidence that went in. And you mentioned the other judges in the 2-1. They sifted through that evidence and they looked at all the testimony. You had state legislators from both the Democratic and Republican side. You had statements from Governor Abbott. You had expert reports that I was part of. And there were thousands of pages of evidence and testimony delivered to this court. And Jeff Brown, who wrote the 160-page opinion, sided with the plaintiffs and said, as you just said, this was a racial gerrymander that violated the Constitution. So there was plenty of evidence. There was no need to, invoke anything that wasn't a part of the trial. But that's what we saw recently. And I think I was as shocked as anyone.
Well, and again, I mean, he was just going crazy. And I'm sitting here going, okay, he's bringing up, Soros funded this and he funded that and Matt got money from here. And I was like, dude, that has nothing to do with the merits of the lawsuit. The lawsuit was simple. The people who sued said this was a racist gerrymander.
As I said, there was so much direct evidence. There were statements by Governor Abbott calling for the dismantling of Black and Latino districts. There was a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice telling Texas, you need to dismantle Black and Latino districts. And there were statements from state legislators who passed the bill saying they wanted to dismantle these coalition districts. So the direct evidence was quite clear. And then people like myself came in with a lot of statistical evidence, maps and GIS layers to look at where the line boundaries were. All of the evidence was very clear in this case. This was racial gerrymandering. They dismantled Al Green's old district in Houston. I know you know that district, Congressional District 9. So there's no question that the direct evidence that was at play here, as well as the effects evidence, was quite clear. And that's why you saw such a powerful 160-page decision in favor of the plaintiffs striking down the Texas map. And I can say I was there for the entirety of the trial. George Soros never made an appearance in the trial, and that had nothing to do with the direct evidence that was present.
So look at this. The main winner, go to my iPad here. The main winners from Judge Brown's opinion are George Soros and Gavin Newsom. The obvious losers are the people of Texas and the rule of law. I dissent. And then he goes on and on and on. And then he goes, the resulting dissent is far from a literary masterpiece. If, however, there were a Nobel Prize for fiction, Judge Brown's opinion would be a prime candidate. And so, boy, and then Judge Brown could have saved himself and the readers a lot of time and effort by merely stating the following. I just don't like what the legislature did here. It was unnecessary and it seems unfair to disadvantaged voters. I need to step in to make sure wiser heads prevail over the nakedly partisan and racially questionable actions of these zealous lawmakers. Just as I did to the lawmakers in Galveston County in Petaway, I'm using my considerable clout as a federal district judge to put a stop to bad policy judgments. After all, I get paid to do what I think is right. Okay, here's what's so stupid. The idiots with the Trump Department of Justice sends a letter saying, hey, it's some racial issues. Y'all got to get rid of these districts. Now, mind you, while that was happening, Texas was literally defending those very districts in court over the 2021 lawsuit saying, oh, no. We did not draw these seats with racist intent, with racial intent. Then all of a sudden, letter comes. Trump calls Abbott, yo, I need 5 seats. Flip it. Abbott, in his proclamation calling for the special session, cites the DOJ letter. The chair of the committee, the commission, cites the DOJ letter. Then all of a sudden they went, oh shit. The court ruled that partisan gerrymandering is okay, but it's illegal. Racist gerrymandering. Oh, damn. Oh, no. Oh, no. We didn't do it because of the letter. What letter? What no letter that came? What letter? What you talking about? What no letter? Oh, no. And then, while that's happening, Abbott goes on Fox News to defend the new map and goes, oh, no. This is not racist. We're creating opportunities for new Latino districts. I'm sorry. So that's really what Judge Brown was referencing. He was like, wait a minute. Y'all said it in writing and out of your own mouths what you were doing. And now you're claiming that's not what you're doing?
If people read, that was an excellent summary. It's funny because it's unbelievable, some of the statements that were made. If people read the 160-page decision striking down the map that Jeff Brown wrote, I've appeared before Jeff Brown 3 times in this trial at 3 different occasions. He is the most thoughtful, considerate, careful judge I've ever been before. He asks questions of all the witnesses. He asks for clarification. And his decision is very well reasoned. He is citing, just as you indicated, Roland, in the decision, he is citing the speeches given by Governor Abbott. And contrasting what he said on Fox News with a speech he gave on CNN, where Jake Tapper said to him directly, isn't this just about partisan politics, Governor? And Greg Abbott said, no, Jake, this is about dismantling the Black and Latino coalition districts, which are now illegal. He had a chance, and he actually said no. And that quote is in the decision, because that shows you what they were actually about.
Right.
They wanted to dismantle 5 Black and Latino districts. It wasn't about partisanship. It was about race. And those direct pieces of evidence are very, very clear. The lawyers who put the evidence on were brilliant, and that comes through in Judge Brown's decision.
So give me 1 second, because I gotta read this here. I love this here. It's all politics on both sides of the partisan aisle. George and Alex Soros have their hands all over this. One of the plaintiff's top experts is Matt Barretto. He is a paid Soros operative and does not attempt to hide it. His CV confirms it. He expects to receive $2.5 million from George and Alexander Soros. Nor is this something new. Soros has been pumping money into Barretto's UCLA voting rights project for years. And this steady supply of money won't stop until 2026 at the earliest. Unsurprisingly, Barreto has been on quite a roadshow for years, parading across the country opposing Republican redistricting. That is the tip of the iceberg. The lawyers are involved as well. And then he goes on and on and on. To his credit, the lead counsel for plaintiffs does not try to hide it either. Chad Dunn acknowledged so in open court. He works with Barreto at the same voting rights project that received Soros funding. Dunn is a respected attorney in Texas election law cases, most recently serving as counsel in the Jackson case. And then he goes on and on and on and on and on. And he goes on and on and on. He said it does not stop there. The Elias Law Group draws from the Soros coffers too. Counsel for the Instant Gonzalez plaintiffs, David Fox, is a partner at Elias, which has, quote, collected more than $104 million from Democratic Party committees and donors, including Mr. Soros. And he just goes on. On a silver platter, Judge Brown hands Soros a victory at the expense of the people of Texas and the rule of law. Judge Brown won't tell you that. I just did. And I'm sitting there going, so is he saying that no one else can give money to voting rights projects? That, is he, again, can I substitute Allison? Can I substitute Coke? Can I substitute the wild? I could go on and on and on, but he's clearly showing his disdain for there being people who oppose racist gerrymandering.
Yeah, there's no question that the Constitution, this wasn't even a voting rights claim. This was not a Voting Rights Act 1965 Section 2 claim in Texas. This was a claim against the United States Constitution, 14th Amendment. That's what Texas lost on right now. And if we cannot have independent research centers and litigation outfits that try to protect the United States Constitution, then I don't know how we're supposed to protect our democracy. That's what our group does. We try to stop racial gerrymandering at every turn. We try to make sure that all Americans, regardless of race or ethnicity, have an equal right to vote. And that's what people are advocating for. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're trying to uphold the Constitution. In fact, this Judge Brown in Guadarrama, 2 federal judges, evaluated a week's long worth of evidence and said they agreed with plaintiffs that the Texas map violates the U.S. Constitution. And so those of us who are on the side of trying to protect voting rights and voting equality, we should be celebrating this decision because you had both a Republican and a Democratic appointed judge in Brown and Guadarrama come to an agreement after reviewing thousands of pages of evidence and hearing testimony and saying it was clear to them. It wasn't even close. To them, it was clear in all instances that there were 6 districts that violated the U.S. Constitution because of racial gerrymandering. And that's something not to be ashamed of. That's something to be proud of when you can hold the state accountable and tell them that these districts are taking away the rights of blacks and Latinos in the state of Texas. The Al Green district will now get put back. That district in Houston, which has been there for decades. The Latino district that Greg Casar represents from Austin to San Antonio, that majority Latino voting rights district, will get put back. And people will have their representatives in Congress now.
So now the question then becomes, will the Supreme Court, first of all, this decision has been appealed to the Supreme Court. So the question now is, will the Supreme Court lock the new map in place? Or will they lock the old map in place? We also have, though, the Louisiana case. Is it pronounced Cali? Is that how they pronounce it, or Calais?
Calais.
I'm sorry. Calais. So you have the Calais case. So now, and then if they rule on that, that could impact these Texas seats. So just explain to people what we're now facing, because the conundrum that we're now in is today's November 21st. The deadline to run for these congressional seats, or even for the Senate, is December 8th. So, and I had Representative Jelana Jones on the other day. So the problem that we're facing is, well, if you're Congressman Al Green, do you file for the 9th district based upon the old map, or do you file in the 18th because of the new map?
Right. So as you correctly pointed out, this is coming up in about just over 2.5 weeks will be the end of the filing period to declare where you're running. And these cases are all going to the U.S. Supreme Court. As of now, the federal district, the 3-judge panel in Texas has enjoined the new map. So the 2025 map is on pause, and they say in their order that the elections will take place under the 2021 map. However, it's going to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court is going to have to decide quickly. So I think most experts and lawyers, and this is out of my sort of wheelhouse because I'm not a lawyer, I'm a data scientist and an analytics person. But what I'm hearing and what I've been reading is that they're expecting that decision in December so that it can come before the deadline. So that means this is going to move quickly. There's going to be both sides, the Texas Attorney General and the plaintiffs will explain and file their papers to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court is going to get this. They're going to read all the opinions. And then they're going to have to decide. Remember, they cannot change the facts of the case. That's why this Jeff Brown decision is so important, because he established through 160 pages, along with Judge Guadarrama, that these are the evidentiary findings of fact. The Supreme Court can interpret whether or not they made any legal errors, but they have very clearly laid out why this is a violation of the United States Constitution. This is not a Voting Rights Act case per se. The Calais case, the other case you mentioned out of Louisiana, is a direct Section 2 voting rights case, and that is already pending before the Supreme Court. Most people think that they might take their time. They may not decide until the end of their term. You know how it is, Roland. A lot of times those big decisions come out in like June 25th, June 30th, right at the end of the term, those bombshells. And so people are thinking maybe they're going to wait, but that is going to be to decide whether or not we have a Voting Rights Act anymore, whether or not we have Section 2, which has protected historically the creation of every African-American district in the South, has been as a result of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And the Supreme Court could say, times are changing, we don't think we need it anymore. And so that's a very, very scary decision that's on the horizon. But these things are all before the Supreme Court, and we're going to decide, and we're going to hear whether or not we have a right to equal representation or not.
Question for my panel. I'm going to introduce them. Candace Kelly, she's legal analyst and host, Not All Hood, joining us from South Orange, New Jersey. Also, Michael Imhotep, host the African History Network show out of Detroit. Candace is a lawyer, so she gets first dibs.
Well, listen, I think that this was really interesting, the way that the dissenting opinion talked about the judge. And it was really something that was surprising how he went off. And I just want you to kind of address how really kind of a spectacle this is and how really unusual it is that on this level, I mean, he called the other judge an unskilled magician in all of this. This is very abnormal. I just wanted your comments about how you feel his response has hit and how unusual this is for the public.
Well, it's quite unusual. I haven't seen something like that in all the time that I've testified. As I said, I've been in front of Judge Brown and Judge Smith 3 times. I found both of them in my personal interactions with them to be very professional, very respectful. But this decision seemed to have more than just weighing the evidence, as you just noted. It's quite unusual. Our job is just to try to present evidence as the people involved in the case, and the judge is supposed to weigh the evidence. But this was quite unusual in that there was not a lot of weighing of the evidence. There was more name calling, and especially I found it unusual attacking another Republican judge, his colleague in the state of Texas. It was quite unheard of.
Michael?
All right, Professor Matt. The question I had, and maybe 2 questions. So I know that, as Roland said, that there's an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court that was made Tuesday evening, Tuesday night. So dealing with primaries, we're dealing with time constraints because the ballots from the Secretary of State have to go out at a certain time because you have primaries first. So you have to have the names of the people on the ballot. You have to have the districts, all that sorted out. So if this is appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, do you think there will be a ruling in time so that say they uphold the federal panel, what they ruled, okay, that the districts are biased against African Americans and Latinos, right? Do you think there's enough time with the Supreme Court ruling to have the proper districts on the ballots, or sometimes you deal with a situation where there's not enough time to change it, so then you have to go with something else? What do you think will happen if this gets appealed, based upon time constraints?
Yeah, that's a great observation. And there is something called the Purcell principle. This is a legal standard that the Supreme Court has determined that if you get up too close to the election, let's say it's a week before the primary, they're not going to let you change the districts. In this particular case, we still have plenty of time because the filing period is still open. Nothing has run out of bounds. And if the Supreme Court is able to issue a decision during December, we should be totally fine. In fact, at the trial, someone from the Texas Secretary of State's office who administers elections testified. They testified on behalf of the state of Texas saying that they wanted to move things along. However, during cross-examination, that person stated that if the court ordered them to extend the period by 2 weeks or a month, they would be able to do that. And in fact, that had happened before in the state of Texas. And the person responded, yes, if the court orders us to extend the period by 2 weeks or a month, that will be no problem. We can certainly do that. So we still have enough time. That primary is in March. If things start creeping into February, that's where I think you're going to start raising alarm bells. And that's why most legal advocates and scholars want to see a decision by the Supreme Court to clarify in the month of December. If that happens, I think we're fine. But people should assume right now the Texas map has been enjoined. It's been blocked. If you're thinking of running for Congress, if you're an incumbent, I'd be filing in my current district because you're under the 2021 map as of right now.
And the concern that people also have with the Texas, because Texas can also move the primary. The primary right now is slated for the first Tuesday in March. The reality is, to your point, if a judge says, hey, move the filing deadline to, let's say, February 1st, they can literally move the primary to April, May, or even June. But the whole point there, and this is where Purcell comes in, and what people also got to remember, lower courts ruled that in Louisiana, that the state discriminated against African Americans by not creating a second district. Same thing in Alabama. But because of Purcell, the court locked the maps in place. So even though the lower courts had ruled those were unconstitutional, they declared, even though I thought in the Louisiana case it was bullshit, because their primary wasn't until August, that thing came down early in the year, they ruled that, hey, there wasn't enough time to change the maps. And so many folks are hoping that this Supreme Court, and we know that they care about precedent but don't care about precedent, are thinking that, hey, there's no way they're going to sit here and have this upheaval and say, yeah, let's go forward with these new maps, knowing full well people don't know what district I'm in, who am I voting for, where am I filing.
And if you look at the Brown decision, they have an entire 10 pages at the end of that directly addressing Purcell and timing. So they've laid it all out. Brown has written a very well-reasoned decision that takes on Purcell and the timing. And he says in that decision, we have plenty of time. Things are moving forward. The primary's not till March. We're good. So now the Supreme Court needs to get involved and tell us what the decision is. But I would expect the most likely outcome is that we will have the 2021 map. We will go back to that, and we will be able to see people file and run in those districts. On
another note, Matt, you look at this the data all the time, and in this, we saw in the election a few weeks ago, complete change when it comes to Latino voters. We're seeing right now where Trump is as well. And is this one of those things where buyer's remorse, where Latino voters are like, damn, we got played. They fell for the okie doke with Trump. Trump promised all these sort of different things, and his horrific attacks when it comes to ICE, how they're just snatching people and just abusing people. Is that what's really driving this significant drop in Republican Latino support?
Well, I think, first of all, let's document it. There was a poll just last week, showing that Trump's approval with Latinos was down to about 28%. It was under 30%. We saw that in the elections that you mentioned in Virginia, in New Jersey. We saw it out here in California in the Prop 50 vote. huge turnarounds, going back almost to the 2020 numbers or before, even to the Hillary Clinton numbers in 16 in some of these places. Some of these places, Roland, 50-point net turnarounds in the Latino vote. And we know that Latinos are very economically conscious. We know that people were still hurting at the end of 2024, that inflation was still there. This is a working class community, by and large, had not fully recovered. Inflation was still there. And as you said, maybe believed a lot of the promises and those hopes that Trump said he was going to instantly change things. But that's not what happened. What we have seen is the economy has not rebounded. Latino wages have not gone up. Inflation continues to rise. Healthcare is expensive. Housing is expensive. We haven't seen an increase in Latino home ownership rates. Instead, you have seen unbelievable crackdowns on immigrant rights and immigrants, including U.S.-born and legal permanent residents and people with visas, getting abducted, getting tackled by masked agents. That does not play well while simultaneously the economy is not rebounding. And so you put it together, those things are really at the forefront. I think a lot of people are saying this is not what we expected. We took a chance. We were hoping that this so-called businessman would help rescue the economy, but we haven't seen that, and people are upset. And I think what you saw in 25, man, it looks like it could continue into 26, and that won't be good.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Republicans are desperate to gerrymander as much as they can, because I think they are expecting they're going to lose 10, 12, maybe 15 seats. It could be even more. So I think that when I see these folks in these Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, who are angry with the right wing, protesting them, when I see what's happening with ICE, I think between those voters and Latino voters, they're sitting here going, damn, I think we screwed this one up. And the problem is he's going to be there for 3 more years. So we'll see what happens in the midterms. Matt, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Roland, anytime, my brother.
All right, folks, going to go to break. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be, it's going to be good.
An Ohio jury acquitted a white police officer of murdering a pregnant black woman he had fatally shot in a supermarket parking lot. The panel, consisting of 9 women and 3 men, deliberated for about 2.5 hours before finding Connor Grubb not guilty of murder, involuntary manslaughter, and felonious assault charges related to the death of 21-year-old Takia Young. Takia was killed on August 24, 2023, during a confrontation with Grubb and another officer. They were instructing her to exit her vehicle when it slowly rolled toward Grubb outside the Kroger store in a Columbus suburb. Grubb maintained that Takia was attempting to run him over. At the time of the incident, she was approximately 25 weeks pregnant, and her unborn daughter also died as a result. After the verdict was read, Takia's grandmother, Nadine Young, shouted in disbelief.
Everyone could have a seat. Mr. Grubb, you're...
It's all right. This kid walk away crazy. Never look in. It's all right.
a statement, the attorneys representing the Young family expressed a disappointment with the outcome of the case. Quote, the criminal process requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a high standard, and the jury has spoken. But an acquittal does not change the facts. It does not erase what happened on August 24, 2023. Takia Young is dead. Her unborn daughter is dead. Connor Grubb fired the bullet that killed them both. That is indisputable, and it gives us the ability to hold all responsible parties accountable, not just one officer. Our civil case will prove what the jury could not find beyond a reasonable doubt. We will show that Grubb created the danger by positioning himself in front of her vehicle with his weapon drawn. We will show that Blendon Township failed to train or supervise him on encounters with moving vehicles and de-escalation. We will show that Kroger violated its own loss prevention policies and escalated a situation that never should have involved law enforcement. You know, unfortunately, we see so many of these stories. And again, Candace, we talk about it. People can, there's other cases, but it still is rare. It still is rare for a police officer to be found guilty. And this jury deliberated just 2.5 hours. That is not a long time.
Yeah, it's not a long time. Now, listen, this jury, they deliberated for several hours before that, but someone went out on medical leave. So then they came back, and then they had a replacement juror. And yes, and that was 2.5, 3 more hours after that. But before that, I think it was 7 hours. Here's some of the things that just you really have to, when you go back to the crime scene, take away and realize why this police officer is, in fact, at fault. If you go back to the video, you will see that, as you said, he stepped in front of the police car and he aimed directly at her. Now, if he was trying to stop the car, what would you do? You would just shoot the tire, or you would, call other police officers to get her, because we know that even when there's a big chase down a big highway even, that person is not going to get away. So what he did was he positioned himself, it looks like, to shoot her in the face and head, which he did. And so, that's the problem. The problem is the training. The problem is being caught up in the moment and not making the right decisions. The other problem was how long it took for this tape to actually be released. It was almost a year. And then the police officers tried to use Marsy's Law, which the voters in Ohio voted for Marsy's Law in order to protect the victims, to get their constitutional right to have due process. Police officer in this case and the union are saying that this is a victim. This police officer was a victim in this situation. Well, that doesn't make sense. Any officer that takes the job and signs up to be a police officer, then in that case is always going to be a victim, because they're always going to be a part of some type of highly confrontational situation, which that is often what happens when police come on the scene, no matter. And so they would always be a victim. So that makes no sense to even use Marsy's Law in that way. There's so many things the matter with this that I am certain that when they proceed in the wrongful death lawsuit, which is just beyond a preponderance of the evidence, that they will be successful. But along the way, a lot of mistakes. We have to know who the person is who shot us, whether they're police, whether they're ICE, whether they're our neighbor. That is the person's right, meaning this young woman who died and her child, to face, or her family at this point, to face who the shooter was. They held on to his name way too long when we know that this is a guaranteed right by the Constitution that is afforded to her and her family.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, this is a tragedy. I watched some of the video once the verdict was read, and read a couple of articles dealing with this. And this is a situation where it kind of reminds me of George Floyd, because that involved a store, a purchase as well. But when you read that the car was moving slowly forward, she put on the turn signal, things of this nature. When you read what happened, when you watch the video, it doesn't give the appearance that she was trying to run the officer over. Okay. And, you have to use discernment when you are a police officer. And just the explanation, the written statement that Officer Grubb gave, to me, this doesn't add up. Okay. So this is a senseless killing. And unfortunately, Takia Unfortunately, the sister, Takia, and her unborn child died in this tragedy here. Okay, so and the question I have now, she's accused of stealing alcohol. Not saying that she should pay the ultimate penalty if she did, but were they even able to determine whether or not she stole alcohol? This was an accusation of stealing alcohol, which kind of reminds me of George Floyd, because he was accused of passing a fake $20 bill, which would then lead to, theft of a product. And he ended up dead as well.
Yep. Well,
can I jump in? I just want to jump in, and so yes, there was video evidence that might point to that. But here's the thing: are we now in the business, especially in this economy? And I've been in court where there have been several women who go to the ShopRite, and men, the ShopRite down the street where I live right now, and they're brought up on charges because they steal not just alcohol, but they steal $136 worth of groceries. But we are not in the business. We just cannot be in the business of shooting people because they stole string beans and turkeys. We just cannot do that. Right. If that's the case, police officers might as well set up down at ShopRite, Stop and Shop, whatever, King's, whatever, in the local Kroger's near you, and they're going to catch a lot of people. And that's not how you do it. I mean, if they would have stayed there and caught her, and put her in jail legitimately, and just stayed, that's what they would have been doing all day. You can't solve that problem by pulling out your gun. Not in 2025, not in this economy, not ever, not ever.
Folks, let's talk about this story. We had a couple on the show the other day who were in an Indiana hospital for 6 hours, then turned away, and they had to deliver the baby on the side of the road. Mercedes Wells, remember, says she was wheeled out of Indiana's Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital Saturday night by security while in active labor, forcing her to give birth on the side of the road 8 minutes later. Her husband delivered the baby. The Wells family says they spent 6 hours in the hospital. They were pleading with staff as Mercedes' contractions came just a minute apart. Despite her pain, a nurse sent her home without even letting her see a doctor. Well, guess what? That doctor and the nurse, they're no longer employed by Franciscan Health Crown Point in Indiana, hospital officials confirmed. Franciscan Health Crown Point said that in addition to employees losing their jobs, the hospital has mandated cultural competency training and a new exam protocol for patients leaving the labor and delivery unit. This is a statement from Franciscan Health Crown Point CEO Raymond Grady. He says the staff failed to listen to Mrs. Wells' concerns. And it said, on behalf of Franciscan Alliance and Franciscan Health Crown Point, I apologize to Mrs. Wells and her family for failing to live up to our Franciscan values. We are committed to holding ourselves accountable through our actions so that every patient is heard and receives compassionate, equitable care. Any evidence of actions to the contrary will not be tolerated. Cannon Lambert, Sr., the attorney representing the Wells family, said this: they did what my 9-year-old nephew knew they were supposed to do. He's 9 and knew in an instant that they should be fired. It took the hospital darn near a week. What about the staff that sat and watched this deplorable situation and did nothing? Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, they should have been fired, Candace. But, yeah, you don't take a week.
No, you don't take a week. And you took an oath. You took an oath, right? To when you're in a situation like that, you have a legal duty, a fiduciary responsibility in order to take care of the patients that are in front of you. So listen, it happened, but it took too long. But it had to happen, and I'm glad it happened. I mean, who doesn't know about contractions, whether you have children or not? That's something that people come to the emergency room all the time. It is clear that there was something else that was going on here. You go to an emergency room, you go to a hospital to get help, and that didn't happen. Oh, yeah, they have a lot of training to do, and it's something that's basic training, and it's ridiculous. I mean, they are lucky that the baby survived, that they wouldn't have a wrongful death lawsuit on their hands inside of all of this. Ridiculous. It took a lot of time, but glad that we crossed that threshold.
Michael?
Yeah, Roland, this is another tragedy, and I saw your interview with Mercedes and her husband as well a couple of days ago. And this goes to, there have been numerous stories of the how African Americans, but especially African American women, they're not taken seriously by doctors, oftentimes by white doctors. Their concerns, they're complaining about pain, things like this. They're not taken seriously and sent home without proper treatment, et cetera. Luckily, in this situation here, the baby survived. She had the baby, on the side of the road. But once again, this is why you have to have competent doctors. You have to have cultural competency also, and why it's so important to have more African-American doctors, because there's studies that show that African-Americans who have African-American primary physicians are healthier and live longer as well. So it makes a difference. But thanks for covering this story also, Roland.
Folks, gotta go to a break. We come back. Oh, my God, a socialist comes to the White House. New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani meets with that thug Donald Trump. We'll show you some of what happened. Folks, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute to our work using Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. That's for credit cards as well. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Back in a moment.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7. Spread the word.
Well, folks, Zohran Mamdani, who was elected mayor of New York City, held a meeting today in the Oval Office with the crazed, deranged orange one. It was, of course, quite interesting. A lot of people thought fireworks were going to happen. But y'all know Mamdani is way smarter than that, and he's damn sure more smarter than Trump. Here's some of what took place.
We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily, and I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City. and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the President, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for the mayor-elect. Yeah. For you, you've referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Could you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. From when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
And for Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who had betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the President is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yeah.
Now, hours before the meeting took place, the House voted on a resolution condemning socialism. Oh my God, what do we do? Here are the list of the Democrats who voted for this. You see Sanford Bishop, the CBC of Georgia. He voted for this. Sheila Shifless McCormick of Florida. She voted for it. Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. He voted for this. Let's see. Don Davis, no shock, of North Carolina. He voted for it. Shamari Figures of Alabama. He voted for it. Let's see here. Stephen Horsford of Nevada. He voted for it. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. He voted for it. Let's see here. Lucy McBath of Georgia. Another CBC member. Gregory Meeks of New York. Another CBC member. Let's see here. Anyone else? Let's see. Marilyn Strickland of Washington State. Amelia Sykes of Ohio. Richie Torres of New York. Let's see here. Frederica Wilson of Florida voted for it. 2 Democrats. Janelle Bynum of Oregon. She, of course, that's a sister. They voted present. Here's the whole deal. It's first of all, the resolution in the House is laughable, Michael, because the reality is most of the people you're talking about. Look, he got elected. And the issues he's talking about are the issues people care about. And so I find it laughable while he, of course, Trump called him a communist and all kind of other stuff like that. Then it says, well, I think he's going to be successful. So contrast Trump saying he's going to be successful with the House voted to condemn socialism. So Trump is saying what? The socialists are going to be successful?
Well, yeah, Roland. So the House resolution passed 285 to 98. Okay, condemning socialism and condemning, quote, horrors of socialism, end quote, as if capitalism is so great. And I'm a capitalist. I'm not a socialist, but I'm also not stupid. Okay. Now, what I find really interesting is is that you have white MAGA farmers in Arkansas and Iowa begging for a bailout from the federal government, and now they want socialism. They want a bailout from the federal government because of Trump's tariffs and destroying the soybean market, right? So here you have Republicans, largely Republicans, voting to condemn the horrors of socialism, and MAGA wants socialism to bail out white farmers. But they're not trying to bail out black farmers, because if you look at the discrimination that took place during the first Trump administration, when he destroyed the soybean market again, they had to do $26 billion in assistance for farmers, and black farmers got 0.1% of 1%. They got about $26 million. Okay, so this doesn't make sense. The math isn't mathing. But once again, all of this, I think, is a distraction from the Jeffrey Epstein files and the failing economy. That's what's going on here, because Republicans don't have any solutions to make our lives better.
True that. Candace.
Hey, listen, it doesn't matter what you call it or what resolution they say. We like socialism, we don't like socialism. The people of New York City, they want a relief in taxes. They want a free MTA card. They want free childcare. They want, they want these free things that Mondani promised. So it doesn't matter whether you call it socialism. It doesn't matter whether you have a resolution or not. They're waiting to see that he shows and proves. And I think it's interesting that we had this kind of real chummy love affair all of a sudden with Trump and Mamdani, because he knows who he put, the president knows who he put his support behind, Cuomo, and that it just didn't work. So here he is. Is he going to fight with this guy who is the mayor of the epicenter of the world when it comes to culture, media, diplomacy, finance? He is not. This is some place where he hopes to keep connections, and he knows he already lost. He tried to win the night before by putting his support behind Cuomo, and it didn't work. So here he is. And this is why he's got to be chummy, because he figured, let me not be a dummy. Let me go ahead and see what I can do to make good of this, because I didn't come through with the votes and my support with Cuomo. So this is what he's left with. So this is now a wait-and-see proposition. Who knows? This chummy fest might just be one day. Tomorrow we know he might be on Truth Social saying something completely opposite, calling him names, calling him a communist. That's just how he gets down. But for today, That's the news. I'll take the chummy.
All right. Well, listen, we'll see what happens. But bottom line is, and then what happened to all these billionaires? Said they would be fleeing New York. They're moving. They lied. All right, y'all. Second half of the show, I got to deal with how the right wing, they are just loving and embracing that racist Nick Fuentes. But why was anybody shocked? Because that's their voters. I'm not shocked at all. I'll unpack when we come back right here, Rolling Martin Infiltrate on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, and higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis, and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
Are you ready for the holidays? This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about all things anxiety and the holidays, whether it's performance anxiety, presence versus presence, making certain that everybody in your space understands the boundaries and how to respect your home. This week, we're talking about those things that will allow you to have a peaceful holiday season.
It really is not about perfection. It's really about, you know, the house feeling warm and cozy and peaceful.
You don't have to like everybody, but what you can do is be cordial in those environments.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Michael McMillan, President and CEO of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, family, the 1800s, when we talk about the racists in the country, Democratic Party, especially the Southern Democrats, founders of the KKK. Fast forward, Jim Crow, Southern Democrats. That's right, opposing civil rights, standing up for Jim Crow. Then you get to the 60s. Yeah, a lot of Republicans. People like William F. Buckley. They were supportive of civil rights. But then all of a sudden, Barry Goldwater wrote a book that changed everything. He opposed the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And all of a sudden, the Republican Party began to not just shift right, but also began to fully embrace racist. You look at the Southern strategy. A lot of white people were upset that Democrats chose to embrace civil rights, which meant embracing black people. And so really ever since the 1964 election, you've seen significant shift. Ever since then, you have not seen a Democrat win a majority of the white vote. White folks align with Republicans. Now, that's not to say that all white folks are racist. But see, remember when I talk about racism, y'all, I always say that the problem when we talk about racism, we go, somebody's racist, somebody's not racist. But the real issue is all the stuff that's in between the two. That's really what it speaks to. When I wrote my book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. Why did I pick this photo? I picked this photo because this is from January 6th. This is a white man who's standing there with his arms outstretched. And really, I saw the photo, and what he was saying was, all of this is ours. Because you got to remember, they were angry. Trump was angry with how black folks voted in Atlanta. Remember, he kept talking about Fulton County, Atlanta, Philadelphia, black, Detroit, black, Milwaukee, black. He did a partial recount in Wisconsin. Where? Milwaukee. Black people. You might remember that the head of the Michigan Republican Party said, let's count all the votes in Michigan except Detroit. I wonder why. So what are you now seeing? You've seen the Republican Party stand with Confederates. Who defends the monuments? The very people, Republican Party, radical Republicans behind the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Who are the folks who now are defending the racist monuments? Republicans. Who's bringing them back? Pete Hegseth, Trump, Republicans. So now what we're really seeing, when you look at the racist attacks, Charlie Kirk, Republicans loved him. Now they claim, oh no, Charlie was never racist. Charlie never did such things. Charlie was about truth. No, he was saying some racist shit. Then you have the guy who couldn't stand Charlie Kirk, who has a group called, called them the Groypers. Oh, Nick Fuentes. Oh my goodness. So many young white boys love them some Nick Fuentes. What have we now seen the past month? Oh my God, we have seen New York Times do a huge story on Nick Fuentes and what he's trying to do. We've seen Tucker Carlson sit down, and because of Tucker Carlson's interview, you had the head of the Heritage Foundation, the folks behind Project 2025, say, well, we shouldn't be running folks off. That's now set off a whole chain of folks resigning, quitting, being pissed off with Kevin Roberts, who leads the Heritage Foundation, say, how dare we sit here and stand with open anti-Semitic racists? You got Ben Shapiro, who's full of shit on the right. Oh, he's been angry. He's been angry with Tucker and the right-wingers who stand with Nick Fuentes. You may ask, well, who is the Fuentes guy? What is he talking about? Well, first, lately, he said that he's going to infiltrate the Republican Party. He plans to build an organization to pressure Republicans by developing what he called elite human capital and mapping out or attacking his pro-Israel foes, because he's vehemently anti-Israel. I mean, he's a acknowledged racist and anti-Semite. He don't even been called an anti-Semite. Listen.
And asked Carlson about his recent platforming of white nationalist and vehement anti-Semite. I'm starting to like it when they call me that. Careful what you wish for, cocksuckers. I'm starting to like that. I used to get mad, like earlier in the week, my stomach was in knots because every article was like vehement anti-Semite, Hitler worshiper. But then I had a change in perspective, which is there any real nigga out there that isn't called this? Or throughout history, all of the realest niggas in history were virulent anti-Semites and racists. Can a nigga just pop off real quick? George Washington, racist. Abraham Lincoln, racist. Christopher Columbus, racist. Jesus split the veil. His parting gift is that he tore the veil covering the Holy of Holies and shook the earth. So the more that I read that, I'm just translating it in my head as real nigga. When people say white nationalist, racist, anti-Semite Nick Fuentes, I'm just reading badass motherfucker. I'm just reading real ass nigga. I don't care anymore. Say it. No one cares anymore. Keep saying it. Every time you say it, it loses power. Because I'm really not a hateful person. Like I'm not filled with prejudice and bigotry. People say he's a bigot. I'm really not. Like I love everybody. I have friends from all different backgrounds. But keep saying it. It loses its power every time. You want to bring that on yourself? Go ahead. Bring it on yourself. All people are going to say is we don't care about those labels anymore. And actually they signal that someone is a rebel. That just means I'm legit. That just means I'm a revolutionary. And what's Ben Shapiro? Ben Shapiro hates Goyim. Ben Shapiro thinks all whites are Jew haters. He thinks that Arabs bomb crap and live in sewage. He doesn't get called a racist because he's part of the Jewish system. So he's a conservative activist. Well, that just means pussy. That means I'm the real deal. I read that in the New York Times. I read that in the Washington Post. I like that shit. Keep it up. Racist, anti-Semite, virulent racist. I saw it from my friend Clyde in the New York Times. Clyde McCready said, the rise of Nick Fuentes, the 27-year-old white nationalist, and his young racist anti-Semitic Groyper movement. There's something else he wrote about me, too. He said I'm an avowedly racist anti-Semite. I just read that and I'm like, based? It says the struggle and its stakes for the nation burst into view after the conservative commentator Tucker Carlson last week offered a friendly interview to Mr. Fuentes, an avowedly racist anti-Semite. I read that and I was like, I don't care. Fine. You know who else was an avowed anti-Semite? Mel Gibson, Michael Jackson, Kanye West, Richard Nixon. I just got my ticket punched. I'm in the real ass nigga club. Stalin, Wagner, Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah, welcome to the club.
Now, this is what Nick had to say about this new generation.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. You know, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck.
Here's Nick talking about literacy tests.
30% of voters can't name all three branches of government. 13% can't name even one. And only 7% know all 5 First Amendment freedoms. 80% can't locate Iraq or Afghanistan on a map. Would you support a modern voter literacy test to incentivize more informed voting? Or any other solutions to incentivize more informed voting?
Maybe. I don't know. That's just like idiotic. You know, thinking the problem is like uninformed people are voting. Uninformed people are the only thing keeping the country going. The 20% of people that could find Iraq on a map are all liberals, okay? The 20% of informed voters that could find Iraq on a map, it's probably like 2% are veterans and 18% are like lib shits that went to college. It's probably like 2% veterans, 2% like talk radio boomers who are like, nah. And then the other 16% are liberals that went to college. So no. If I'll be the first to say, if we had a voter literacy test, Democrat landslide imminent. And it would disqualify all blacks. It would disqualify 80% of Hispanics. But you know who would be voting? College-educated whites and Asians, and they're all liberal. So, no. That's not the issue. That wouldn't solve nothing.
Thrasimic has sent...
Things would get worse faster.
Thrasimic has sent $21.
Nick has some thoughts on Jim Crow.
It was better for them, too. Number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh, no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up. Drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water. It's the same. You know, and, you know, even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general.
Better for them and better for us. Well, there's a whole big dust up on the right, and Donald Trump was asked about this whole blow up and his thoughts about Nick Fuentes.
To the formula, yeah.
Mr. President, Tucker Carlson recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson could play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward?
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide. The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us, and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
You yourself had dinner with Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago. What role should he play in the conservative movement?
Well, I didn't know he was coming, and he was with, as you know, somebody, Kanye. And Kanye asked if he could have dinner, and he brought Nick. I didn't know Nick at the time. And he did. He came, and along with a few other people. He brought a few people with him. Meeting people, talking to people, like for somebody like Tucker, that's what they do. People are controversial. Some are, some aren't. I'm not controversial, so I like it that way.
So you notice how he said that, oh, yeah, Kanye brought Nick to meet lunch, and I didn't know Nick. Well, you know him now. You know what he says. Ben Shapiro, who I think is an absolutely atrocious, racist asshole, he is not being silent about criticizing Nick Fuentes.
Here was Steve Bannon over the weekend, for example, praising Nick Fuentes. Again, the reason this is happening, we should point out, is because there is an attempt to glaze pretty much everybody who is on the anti-Israel, and yes, Fuentes is just an anti-Semite, anti-Semitic side, in order to shift policy priorities away from what President Trump is attempting to do.
Alex Jones had a debate with Nick Fuentes and Dinesh D'Souza. And you see right there the laziness, the lack of argument, their attitude that they just own this. Fuentes takes this guy apart brick by brick. It's a full takedown. Because the kid shows up. He's prepped. He's ready. Not only is he on point and he's always on attack, he happens to have something called facts. And he just overwhelms Dinesh. Dinesh goes back, and it shows you this old guard who has nothing.
Again, it's fascinating to watch as all these people make quasi-allies of people like Nick Fuentes.
And, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she had to have a few words to say.
You're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials. But there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted White Nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views. You did speak at a conference hosted by Fuentes back in 2022. You were criticized, and you said then that you didn't know about his views. Well, Fuentes talked to Carlson about that in the interview. Listen to what he said.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. She pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was.
What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that, and I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone. I don't believe in trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them. And I did speak at his conference back in 2022. However, I don't know Nick Fuentes. He's someone I've never exchanged text messages with or phone calls. But I did speak at his conference. That was the first time I had met him that day, and that was it. But I did watch the interview. I watched the full interview with Tucker, and I admire him for interviewing many people as well as exposing a lot of powerful information.
I hear what you're saying.
He does on his show.
I hear what you're saying about free speech. I mean, count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. There's free speech, and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about the fact that he thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So, again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that. I myself am.
Boy, it's so hard for them to actually condemn the hate, isn't it? So let's take Kevin Roberts. He leads the Heritage Foundation. So he has been under a lot of pressure because there are so many other Republicans. They're calling them elite Republicans, old school Republicans who have been upset. A number of people have resigned from the Heritage Foundation, including close aides of his, because of his defense of Tucker Carlson reaching out and interviewing Nick Fuentes. And Kevin Roberts is saying, hey, we need those guys in the fold. Listen.
I want to speak plainly, both as president of the Heritage Foundation and also as an American who understands the urgency of this moment. Leadership requires owning the moments where we fall short, then using them to reset, refocus, and recommit. I talked about this today, as you may have seen, during our Heritage All-Staff Town Hall. I'm so grateful for my amazing colleagues. My use of the phrase venomous coalition was a terrible choice of words. It caused justified concern, especially among friends and allies who know how seriously Heritage has fought and continues to fight against the rise of anti-Semitism. Everyone has the responsibility to speak up against the scourge of anti-Semitism, no matter the messenger. Heritage and I will do so, even when my friend Tucker Carlson needs challenging. My Heritage colleagues know, as do you, the work ahead is too important. Our conservative movement must be willing to wrestle with hard conversations, not avoid them. Last night's election results demonstrate this. The need of this moment is clear. We must articulate a bold, positive vision that convinces Americans that conservative policies will revitalize the American dream. The left isn't slowing down. If we want to win, truly win, we must grow stronger in every way. Here is what we are focused on moving forward. Standing for strong families, because no society survives without them. Advocating for the dignity of work and free enterprise, because it's how people build meaning and sustain freedom. Defending national sovereignty, because a country that doesn't protect itself isn't a country. And restoring citizenship as a sacred trust, rooted in virtue, liberty, and faith. It's not just policy, it's purpose. So to each of you working the long hours, holding the line, doing the unglamorous tasks that keep this mission moving, I see you. I'm grateful. And I want you to know we're in this together. Movements like ours are not weakened by adversity. We are sharpened by it. Let's take what we've learned. Let's recommit. And by all means, let's go win.
By all means, let's go win. I want everybody watching to understand that that really is the goal of all of this. See, the Republican Party has always been quite comfortable with racism. They understand it. I played it before, but Lee Atwater, when he talked about language that you no longer can use, but there's other language you can use that's going to achieve the same result of getting out the white racists. See, the Klan endorsed Trump. The KKK, they're not comfortable in today's Democratic Party. Well, they're quite comfortable in the Republican Party. Former Klan leader David Duke, remember? He ran for office What did he run as? A Republican. When you look at these white supremacists, these militia groups, when you look at the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, who do they align with? Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party. And so what do you have here? You have this racist Nick Fuentes, who's appealing to this whole group of young, disenfranchised white boys, angry and upset that white women and black women, black folks, Asians, Native Americans, Latinos, they're taking our jobs. They're stealing from us the land that was once ours. We're losing. We're losing our way. We're losing our birthright. This was all ours. We were not destined to share this with those ingrates. But I hope y'all also noticed that the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, all of these people, see, they are attacking Fuentes for anti-Semitism. They were very silent about his racism against black people. See, Kevin Roberts doesn't want to admit it, but his Project 2025 is anti-black. It is an absolute anti-black agenda. Those are facts. See, the reason he's in trouble because he criticized Vietnamese coalitions of conservatives who were attacking Tucker Carlson. And so they were like, wait, hold on. You're defending Tucker who interviewed this violent racist? Yes. And it wasn't that Tucker Carlson interviewed them. It was that Tucker Carlson literally gave him no pushback. It was quite enjoyable conversation between the two. See, it wasn't like when I had Richard Spencer on, when I challenged that racist on his white supremacist views. See, what I need y'all to understand that the Republican Party needs white racists. The Republican Party needs this generation of young white boys, these millennials, these Gen Xers, these Gen Zs. They need to cultivate young white boys of Gen Alpha so they can say, you're losing. Stand with us, and we're going to get your birthright back. See, y'all gotta understand, this is American history. We've always seen this. We've always seen what their goal was, to get after the hearts and minds of young folks. So see, Nick Fuentes, he's serving a very clear purpose for the Republican Party. See, what Donald Trump has done, Donald Trump has said, hey, guess what? We good. You can be racist. You can be anti-Semitic. You ain't got to worry about it because you're good. Remember that guy, Paul Ingracia? The one when those text messages, the Signal Chat group was released? He said he had a Nazi streak. And remember, Trump was going to appoint him to a White House position, and they had to pull a nomination because Republicans said, no, we ain't down with it. Y'all know Trump gave him another job, right? They didn't fire him. What Donald Trump and MAGA has said is that if you are a racist, you're more than welcome to serve in our administration. In fact, we welcome you. And we know the person who's standing there ready to hand you your Confederate flag. It's Stephen Miller. See, what we have to recognize, and y'all, I've only been saying this now for 16 years. I said in 2009, here we are living in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. That's literally what I said in 2009 as John Avlon and I were waiting to go on CNN. John's now in Congress. Here we stand 16 years later. That's what's going on. So the Republican Party knows that they cannot exist in the future unless they are consistently cultivating hate among white voters. And so then if I can cultivate hate among these white voters, and then let me cultivate hate among these white Hispanics, and then let me cultivate hate among these minority folk who hate black folks, including self-hating black people, all of a sudden we have a recipe to victory. Because it's about power, folks. And so there's a reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene won't condemn Fuentes. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene needs his followers to vote for her. And every Republican, they know exactly what they need. They need them voting. So don't think for a second the Republican Party is going to distance themselves from Nick Fuentes. Oh, no, absolutely not. Oh, trust me. And see, Fuentes is not so focused on the accoutrements of acceptance among the party. Because what Nick Fuentes knows is that he doesn't need them to give him a speaking slot at the Republican National Convention. He doesn't need them to invite him to their gatherings. Because what he knows is, even though a lot of them may not show up at his conferences in the future, they sure as hell want his followers to vote for them. Candace, your thoughts?
And what Tucker Carlson did was push him way beyond his 1 million followers. I mean, that particular clip, that particular show has been out to 20 million people. I think what's really interesting, Roland, is that Nick Fuentes has always said that he is going to create disorder, create a civil war. But really what he's doing is creating a separate party. He doesn't mean to dismantle everything. He's trying to figure out how he can infiltrate, as he said, the Republican Party. And as you said, they have no choice but to have conversations with themselves right now to figure out where he's going to fit in. Marjorie Taylor Greene may have broken from Trump and is making all of these polite appearances on CNN, but she knows, just like you said, that's her base. And this base is growing. These are mostly, 20 to 30-year-olds, all the voters up to 30, even people working on his team, almost 100% people under 30 years old who are still forming, developing, right? Some of their brains aren't even fully developed yet. These are all vulnerable people. There is more to come. They are signing up. They are lining up for Nick Fuentes. So whether you believe in his politics or not, you have to really look at him and understand that he's making movement, and the Republicans have to pay attention because they need the votes. These younger voters are coming out and did come out in droves, and they're doing it quietly now. But once they get all of the co-signing from the Republicans, they'll be out in the open, just like we saw all the other races come out in the open that weren't showing their faces before Obama was president. We better be careful. We got to watch and wait and see exactly what's going to happen. And as you said, it's not just young white people. It's young black people, too.
See, Michael, this is why I keep saying why we can't check out of elections, because we know what we are up against. And these folks, their racist views are there. These are the same people. They are pissed off. They are pissed off with immigration. Oh, you see, you got the black HUD secretary. The reason there's a housing crisis because of these illegals. Now you got these same white folks in America pissed off with immigration. Look at Paris. It's so ghetto. Well, actually, Paris is the ghetto in France, you stupid asses. But it's the ghetto, and they're angry. Look at this. All these Muslims, and they're complaining about it in Germany and Italy and all different places. But I need people to understand the role that media plays. This was a story in the New York Times earlier this month. Nick Fuentes was Charlie Kirk's bitter enemy. Now he's becoming his successor. But I want y'all to look at the photo here. See, you got the photo here, this James Dean-esque rebel photo here, as they sort of lay the story out talking about Nick Fuentes. And if I go back here, Michael, what you'll see is there have been 4 or 5 or 6 pieces in the New York Times. And so Nick Fuentes is sitting here going, oh, yes, y'all, please keep writing about me. You're making me more popular. You're now spreading my message. And see, that's really why people were attacking Tucker Carlson, because they said, Tucker, what you're doing is you are mainstreaming this absolute virulent racist asshole. And he's gleefully enjoying all of it.
Yeah, so I have a few comments here. So Nick Fuentes is another mediocre, uneducated white boy, and it appears he at least attended college. I'm not sure if he graduated, but at least he attended college. But this is so you see the positioning that some in the Republican Party are trying to take because they don't want to condemn him, but this could also cause a fracturing in the Republican Party as well. So when we look at just some of the things that he said, right, and hitting on what you talked about with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, that was 45 years in the making, going back to 1980. Just so people understand, mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. And we see we see how these policies that are being put in place by the Trump administration are devastating to African Americans. If Nick Fuentes gains more prominence and continues to spew this venom, this anti-blackness, this anti-Semitism, personally, I think if there's going to be a black tidal wave where people realize, oh shit, no, we have to stop this. I think there's going to be a lot of black people who sat out of the 2024 presidential election. They hear some nonsense like this, and then they see Republicans not condemning it. It's like, yeah, Democrats are not perfect, but they're definitely not this nonsense over here. So, and when we look at you, so you talked about your book, White Fear, and I encourage people to look at the piece from the Atlantic magazine from 2017, looking at the 2016 presidential election. And they said that non-college educated white people did not vote for Trump because of economic issues. They said it was because of cultural anxiety. It was the fear of the browning of America and the fear that by the year 2043, white people would no longer be the majority population in this country. And there was a fear of what would happen to white people when they are a minority in this country. Then when the 2020 census came out, it said that white people were 57% of the population. That was the first time the percentage of white people in this country dropped below 60% since 1790. Okay? And I would argue that the 2024 presidential election was not about the price of groceries. It was about white genetic survival and what happens when they become a minority population. The same thing as 2016. So listening to this, and I hope people make this segment go viral. This should get 2 million views. Black people need to wake the hell up, because when you read Project 2025, they're coming for all of this shit. This is a counter set to wipe out all the gains that black people made from the civil rights movement, the social justice movement, after the death of George Floyd, all of this. They're coming for all of this and taking us back to 1890 and the Mississippi State Convention, when they rewrote the state constitution to impose poll taxes, literacy tests, and lock African Americans out of political power.
To tell people what is going on. We told you prior to this election what is going on. Folks, their movement is on steroids. Oh, it's here. And trust me, when we don't vote, when we sit out, when we say, oh, I'm picking the couch, all they're saying is, thank you. Because black people, you make our job a lot easier. Let me thank Michael. Let me thank Candace for being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks. Y'all enjoy the Thanksgiving weekend. Folks, we come back. Members of Congress, Alabama delegation tout the last Tuskegee Airman. Also, Chadwick Boseman, honored with a posthumous Star of the Hollywood Walk of Fame, will show you some of what took place at that ceremony on Thursday. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute to us via Cash App? Use the striped QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make them out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196.
If in this country right now you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis, and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
Are you ready for the holidays? This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about all things anxiety and the holidays, whether it's performance anxiety, presence versus presence, making certain that everybody in your space understands the boundaries and how to respect your home. This week, we're talking about those things that will allow you to have a peaceful holiday season.
It really is not about perfection. It's really about, you know, the house feeling warm and cozy and peaceful.
You don't have to like everybody, but what you can do is be cordial in those environments.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans anti-intellectualism and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, and higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat. So they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it. They joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes, and you're watching
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
The Alabama Congressional delegation on Wednesday had a moment of silence on the House floor honoring the last surviving combat pilot. It was a Tuskegee Airman. They honored the life of Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy. Hardy died on September 25th at the age of 100. He was a veteran of 3 wars and 136 combat missions. He was the youngest Tuskegee Airman, Red Tail fighter pilot, to fly his first solo combat mission over Europe when he was 19 years old. Congressman Shamari Figures led the Alabama delegation on the House floor in honoring this American hero.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise with the Alabama delegation, including one of our U.S. senators and many others here on the House floor, to pay respect to the end of an era. One of the most improbable, inspiring, and truly remarkable chapters in American history quietly closed during our most recent break. Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy, a veteran of Vietnam, Korea, and World War II, passed away. And this is not a name most of us know in isolation, but we all know the story of the black men who were trained as pilots on airfields in the backwoods of Macon County, Alabama, who would go on to become what the world knows today as the Tuskegee Airmen. Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy was the last surviving Tuskegee Airman who flew combat missions in World War II. He was born in Philadelphia at a time when the military was not integrated, but by the age of 19, he was flying combat missions over the skies of Europe, defending and liberating rights and freedoms abroad that we all know he did not enjoy even back at home. But despite that, Lieutenant Colonel Hardy, he kept the mission first, front and center. And with the other Tuskegee Airmen, they exceeded expectations, and they left behind a spectacular record of service and accomplishment. And though these men took off as the unlikeliest of American heroes, they landed as what is possibly the greatest, most well-known, most well-decorated fighting force in this nation's history. And so as a young man now that has the privilege to represent Tuskegee, it is my honor and it is my obligation, my duty, to stand on this House floor and acknowledge the life, the legacy of Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy and the Tuskegee Airmen and all of those who have served this nation. And with that, I will yield to my colleague from Alabama, Gary Palmer.
Thank you. It's appropriate that we acknowledge the passing of the last of the Tuskegee Airmen. I'd just like to share with you a little bit about them. They trained at Moton Field in Tuskegee Airfield in Tuskegee, Alabama, and later formed units like the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group. They were under the command of Colonel Benjamin Oliver Davis, Jr., who was born right here in Washington, D.C. When the pilots of the 332nd Fighter Group painted the tails of their P-47s red, the nickname Red Tails was coined. The red markings that distinguished the Tuskegee Airmen included red bands on the noses of the P-51s. Some of the bomber crews who flew missions, some of the most dangerous missions during World War II, called them the Red Tail Angels. In combat during the war, they flew over 15,000 sorties, escorting bombers and engaging enemy fighters. They received numerous accolades for the service, including 3 distinguished unit citations, 96 distinguished flying crosses, 14 Bronze Stars, 744 air medals, at least 60 Purple Hearts, and 1 Silver Star. Colonel Davis went on to become the first African-American brigadier general in the United States Air Force. It is totally appropriate that we recognize the incredible accomplishments with all the opposition that they faced that the Tuskegee Airmen achieved in defense of our liberty. I yield back.
Thank you. The chair asks all those present in the chamber as well as members and staff throughout the Capitol to please rise for a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Folks, Thursday in Hollywood, Chadwick Boseman received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His family, friends, colleagues were there to celebrate him, including his widow, Simone Letward Boseman. She spoke, Viola Davis spoke, as well as Ryan Coogler. All talked about the profound impact that Chadwick Boseman had on them and his amazing body of work.
What a joy it is to be here today to celebrate someone we love so dearly. Thank you to everyone who made this day possible, our friends and sponsors at Disney, Marvel Disney, Anna Martinez, and the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. In life, Chad was more than an actor or even an artist. He was a spiritual teacher, fortified by a family and close friends that kept him grounded in faith. A team that believed in him, protected him, and fought for him. Colleagues that trusted his vision, that lifted him up and forged a real brotherhood. You have no idea how pivotal those moments were. Thank you. Chad taught all of us a great deal. His heart was so vast, he could give each and every person a specific part of him and still have so much left to share with the world. Shortly after he passed, Chad came to me in a dream and said that there was only so much that he could do from here. These words were echoed by a close friend only days later, as if to say, in case you didn't hear me the first time. I still smell incense in the wind and see his repeating pattern, like being the 28th recipient of an honor on the Walk of Fame, for example. These synchronicities that are far too frequent to be called random remind me that he's still teaching. Chad, today we recognize a lifetime of artistry. We recognize your skill and your devotion, and we cement your legacy as a hero and an icon. You lived with honor and you walked in truth. You are as brilliant as you were beautiful, and as courageous as you were kind. We love you, we miss you, we thank you. And I would like to share a few words from the man himself. Chadwick Boseman's instructions for creative work. Write the vision and make it plain. Keep that word fastened in your journal and shut it in your bolted drawer until the appointed time. Let the ideas, the visions that God gives you fester inside of you. Let the word that he has put inside of you bubble over. Do not speak it to another until the time appointed by God. The secrecy of the vision is the second stone laid in the building process. It is the project's fortress. For a word spoken too early on the ears of men is a bulldozer and a stumbling block. Forget the self that entered the process and be made into a new creature through the work. Chad, it was our honor to watch you transform and our honor to be transformed by you. We love you so much.
I have to believe that Chadwick is still alive. I can't use the word gone or death, really, when thinking about him. You know, it's like the quote, you know, when the last person who dies who has a memory of you, that's when you'll truly be dead. My memory of Chadwick is we did Ma Rainey's Black Bottom soon before he left us. And he was always trying to engage me on the set. Always sort of telling me in like unassuming ways that I think that he understood the cap of success, but the true power and significance of transcendence. And that was usually the gist of all of our conversations, of sort of what happens when you realize that you're possibly transitioning, that there's something else, right? And I would say to him, you know, Chadwick, I sort of agree with you. There is a cap to success. I haven't found my thing yet. When I'm not acting, I don't know who I am. He was like, oh no, Viola, you can't let that happen. What I do is I carry my djembe drum everywhere I go. I don't care if it gets in the way of luggage. I don't care if, I have to argue with the airline stewardess of where I'm going to put it. I need my drum. And that djembe drum is a talking drum, y'all. And he would play it on the set. You could hear it in his trailer. It was more than just a sound. It was more than just music. I mean, it resounded through the entire sound stage, and he would play it fervently. Chadwick, you channeled the divine. You were a conduit, a source of connectiveness that every single human being who is on this earth is searching for. Trying to connect to each other. Trying to connect to our art. Trying to know, like the Cherokee birth blessing, may we live long enough to understand why we were born. That was Chadwick. More than just an actor who you can observe on screen doing wonderful work. It was work that reminded us that we are less alone. It's best to use all of life. Leave death nothing but the dregs. Nothing but a burnt out castle. And Chadwick was a castle. Chadwick was a mighty, mighty elixir that sort of stirred up that alchemy that we're all in search of, which is meaning. I celebrate him today. And I say to him, I hope all the angels in heaven just sang him to a beautiful rest. And I thank him for what he left behind in me, which is a burning amber that always guides me to a higher meaning of my work and my purpose. This star, as beautiful as it is on the Walk of Fame, shines a whole lot less brighter than Chadwick is in heaven. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? When I ask that you guys bear with me a bit, I never had to speak about Chadwick directly since his passing. So I'm gonna do my best. Right on. I'm good. Just struggling a bit. When I think of Chadwick Boseman, I think of three things: leadership, teaching, and generosity. He was an incredible leader. He was fearless and firm, yet gentle in his leadership. Chadwick was ageless. I never really knew how old he was until I went to one of his birthday parties. He had this incredible youthful look to him. But being around him, I always got the sense that I was around someone incredibly old. And I'm not talking baby boomer or silent generation. Chad felt thousands of years old. He was that calm and that wise. It was a very unnerving feeling to be around him. Our first time together, we were completely alone. And he somehow snuck into a hotel room I was in during a massive press tour for Creed. Sylvester Stallone was there, the great Michael B. Jordan was there, the great Tessa Thompson was there. It was crawling with press. But he got by all of them for us to have a one-on-one meeting to talk about working together on Black Panther. And I was so impressed by that. I asked him how he got past everybody. And he smiled at me and said, "That was the Panther." I didn't know what to make of him. But when we started talking, he quickly shared with me that he felt that he could say things to me that he couldn't say to other people in the industry. And I cut him off and told him that I felt the same way. But when you're around Chadwick, you think about old sayings and phrases that maybe older people taught you in life. I often think about a phrase my father told me when it comes to his leadership style. My dad would always say, "More is caught than taught." Meaning, if you sit somebody down and try to teach them a lesson or show them how to do something, maybe they hear it, maybe they won't. But if you actually do the action, if you actually live it, then they will see it and be motivated to try to duplicate it. Chad was an incredibly humble teacher. He taught in that way. You never knew you were learning a lesson. I remember one day I was having a conversation with him about a particularly tense moment that he had on set. And he told me in his Wakandan accent, "I'll call you when I get home." And he did, and we talked, and he said something during that conversation that I never forgot. He said something happened, and he said, "Ryan, when this happened, I had to really manage my emotions and take a step back." I never forgot that. I never heard these words said together, manage your emotions. And I'll tell you guys right now, I'm a father of 3 kids, and my wife Zenji can attest to you. I say this to my children every day. Today, going to class, you got to manage your emotions. Hey, mom and dad got to go down to LA to do something for Uncle Chadwick. I know you're sad, but you got to manage your emotions and still take it to school today. The biggest pillar of Chad, even in comparison to his incredible leadership and his teaching, was his generosity. He was so generous. The very act of us meeting was an incredible gift in my life, but he was generous to other actors. This man who already was casted as the Black Panther, he came to every single audition and every single callback that I asked him to come to. Sometimes he would be busy and we would schedule one and he'll race across town and read across the other actors. He would come to every rehearsal. He even worked with the actor that was portraying him in a childhood role. He was incredibly generous with his time on set. Even though he was going through what he was going through, he would do his own stunts. He would be there for off-camera dialogue readings. It was incredible. But in all his generosity, Chad only gave me one physical gift. I don't know if Nate Moore is here. You got yours, bro? You got it? Not here. When we wrapped the movie, Black Panther, and I was convinced this movie was not going to work. Chad took my hand and he bent this copper bracelet around it. Check out Chad's brothers. His hands were massive. If you see his big bro Derek, his hands is about the same size. but he took both hands. It was like a vice grip, you know what I mean? and what's crazy about Chadwick is I never have been strong enough to bend this thing. I actually thought I misplaced it and looked for it frantically after he died. I was actually ashamed to take a gift from him at the time. So I pulled it off and I stashed it somewhere, put it in storage somewhere in the Bay Area, because I took him for granted. I figured he'd always be around. And the gift could be something I could get to later. But after he passed, I frantically looked through storage units, tried to find it, and I put it on and I tried to bend it, and then it ended up snapping. So I had to have my assistant take it in to get it repaired. But they shined it up, and I figured I'd wear it for a special day. Ended up being today. But he gave me so many, sorry. But he gave me and us so many other gifts. The gifts of his incredible performances, which inspire actors all over the world, which inspired the actors that we worked with. The gift of being close to greatness. This is something that people who maybe play ice hockey with Wayne Gretzky can attest to. Maybe people who play basketball, Michael Jordan, can attest to. There's something special about being that close to somebody that great. You realize how much you don't measure up, but you also realize how much the human body is capable of. Chad showed that every day. And his generosity extended to the fact that even when he knew his days were limited and his moments were numbered, he still gave to the art form. He still threw himself into the fire of close-ups across from Viola Davis, of uplifting the beautiful dialogue of our ancestors, of dedicating his time to his alma mater at Howard University. He passed, but like Viola said, he's still here, he's still kicking, he's still giving me gifts from beyond the grave, the gifts of hugs from his best friend Logan, the gift of the friendship of his family, and the gift of his wife Simone, who's from the Bay Area like me and Zinzi. Chad and I would always talk about spending time there when we was off. And I wrap it up with this last physical gift. One day I get a call from Simone, and she says, "Hey, I want to drop by and come see you, you and Zinzi." She came by our house in Oakland, and she had a bag of books. Not everybody knows this about me, but I love books. She said these are from Chadwick's collection, and he didn't give me any specific ideas of what to do with these, but his spirit was on my heart, and he thought that these books would be for you. And every single book ended up being something that I needed. One of the books was actually a conversation that I had with Chadwick when I was looking for action words for actors on set. It was just a glossary of action words for actors. I took that book with me when we made Sinners, and I kept it with me every day. We'll make sure I opened it. And I was able to give Mike probably the most important direction I could ever give any actor. When he was working on playing these twins with this dialect that was challenging, I looked at him and said, "What would Chadwick do?" Chadwick would stay in accent on set all day. Chadwick would uplift the other actors. And Mike looked at me and nodded and said, "He got it." We continue to carry him with us. Chadwick's a star, deserving of a star on the Walk of Fame. But he was also our most incredible jewel. He reflected light, he refracted it. And when he did, he showed the greatness of our people. in the universe of our shared humanity. Thank you, Chad.
Folks, I can attest Chadwick Boseman was indeed an amazing brother. So that was a great ceremony there. His brother, Derek Boseman, had reached out to me, wanted me to be present there. But because we were covering some other news issues, could not be there. So this was a way for us to certainly pay tribute to the great Chadwick Boseman. Lost him way too young, way too early at 43. Folks, that is it for us. We appreciate all of you for watching today's show. Thank you so very much for joining us. Lots of stuff we focus on this week. We appreciate all the folks who have been watching. Be sure to spread our articles, share clips, let folks know about this show. This is the only daily news show that centers African Americans. We do this every single day, covering the stuff that matters to you. And we do it because we believe that we should be centered. If you want to support our work, please do so by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to be able to pay staff, to come travel, for the offices, all this good stuff. And so if you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, do so via Cash App by using the Stripe QR code. You can also use it for credit cards. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Black Star Network Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, please do so by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. T-shirts, wall art, mugs, you name it, we got it. All that stuff right there. And if you get one of our shirts or one of our products, take a photo, post it on social, and I'll show it to you on the show. Folks, these products right here, all black-owned products you see on our set. We've got backpacks. We've got artwork. We've got, chips, smocks, Christmas decor, all sort of stuff. And so if you want to support these black-owned companies, we've got talk about Black Friday. No, this is Black Friday. You shop, buy black on Friday by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. And, of course, download the app, Fan Base. And, of course, if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fan base, startengine.com/fan base. Big congrats to my Houston Texans. Huge win last night versus the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, y'all know who the best team in Texas. We know who is not, Henry. You know. And Paul Terrell, his team is the Commanders. He know they terrible as well. So, and then shout out to my Houston Rockets, number 2 in the Western Conference. Paul Terrell, what's your team? The Wizards? Y'all 1-13. Boy, stop talking basketball with me. Stop it. Your team suck. All right. But then again, you are Sigma. All right, well, that's it. I'll see you on Monday right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Peace.